Hello and welcome to another episode. In today's episode, I am going to be talking about CSS lists. But before we get started, if you're new to my channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. As well, if this video is useful for you or for somebody else, make sure you share it with them. Hopefully, you're going to be helping someone else. And if you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Also, if you want to support my channel, I am going to leave my PayPal link in the description below. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so to get started with CSS lists, I'm going to be using the same website we've been using so far, which is w3schools.com. I want you to go to the CSS section and you're going to scroll all the way down where it says CSS lists. When you click on it, this is what you're going to get. As well, please make sure to open the same website we've been working and coding along in our previous episodes. I have that open already and I have my Visual Studio Code open as well. Okay, so CSS lists. As you may know, in HTML, we have two types of lists. We saw this in our HTML course. If you haven't taken a look at that course, I'm going to leave the description of that course below as well. So in HTML, we have two types of lists. We have ordered lists and we have unordered lists. An unordered list is a list that it'll simply show with this type of buttons right here in the left side. And an ordered list is going to be one that will be ordered, obviously, numerically, or you sometimes will see letters like A, B, C in there. So in today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at the following properties. We're going to take a look at list style image, list style position, and list style type. By the way, list style is just a shorthand property, which I'm going to be talking about in a moment. But let's go ahead and let's get started by reviewing them one by one. So HTML list and CSS list properties. In HTML, there are two main types of lists, as I already said, unordered and ordered lists. So the CSS list properties will allow you to set different list item markers for order lists. You will be able to set different list item markers for unordered lists as well. You can set up an image as a list item for the marker, and you can even add a background color to list and also the list items. So you have different type of list item markers, as you may already know. But first, we're going to take a look at the list style type property, which is going to specify the type of list item marker. So here are some examples that we're going to take a look at W3 School. So as you can see, we have here the property, and then we have here a value, which could be a circle, it could be a square, it could be an upper Roman, lower alpha, you name it. So we're going to take a look at that with our code, but first you can go ahead and click here, try it yourself, and you can actually see how everything it's being styled in here. Okay, so as you can see here, we have an unordered list, right? And we have some example of orders lists. So let me go ahead and do this in our code so that way you can code along with me. The first thing we're going to do is go back to our index.html folder, and what I want to do here is create first a order list. Okay, let's create an order list, and let's go ahead and let's give I don't know, let's say item, and then I'm going to add maybe I don't know, let's just go ahead and add a couple of items here, maybe 4 items for order list, and I'm going to do the same thing for an unordered list. Okay, and the only thing I have to do here for an unordered list is change the O for the letter U. Of course that you already know this, but this is just a quick recap, right? Alrighty, so now I'm going to hit save. Let's make sure this was added to our code. Let's hit refresh. And boom, as you can see, now here we have 4 items ordered by 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we have 4 items unordered. They do not have any type of numbers nor letters, so they don't have an order, right? So in the example that we take a look in here, as you can see, the unordered list has squares and it also has circles. So to do that, what they did here in this code is they style it. They style UL, then they use the dot and the letter A. Now, why is the reason they did that? Because here the class is A, as you can see. So you can give your unordered list a class, and we can go ahead and actually do the same. But for this example, I'm not going to use any. I'm just simply going to do one example of each, and then I'm going to let you try this by your own. So let's go ahead and let's style first on order list. We're going to style the order list and we're going to convert all of them in upper Roman like this. Okay, so I'm going to do this very simple. We're going to go back to our code. I'm going to go back to style.css. And in here, what I want to do is call the order lists. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's call order lists. Now on the order list, I want to make sure that I use the list style type property. So then I can go ahead and set them up as upper Roman. And for this example, I'm simply going to copy this and I am going to paste this into our code. So remember, you are going to use the property list style type, and then you're going to set up the value as upper Roman, which is the one that is set here. So I'm going to save this information. We're going to go back to our code. Now, this is going to change. Now we're not going to see the numbers by 1, 2, 3, 4. It should be now in Roman. So let's hit refresh. And boom, you see how this has changed? 1, 2, 3, 4 is now in upper Roman. Now let's do the same for the items. I don't want this black dot right next to them. Let's go ahead and let's add a square. Now to add the square here, we only have to use the square value with the same property list style type. But this time we're going to call the unordered list. So going back to our code, we're going to call the unordered list. And we're going to open this and we're going to say list style type. Now here by default I had a disk, but this time I want to convert them to a square. So I'm going to hit save. And now in our code here, this black dots are going to change for a square. So let's go ahead and let's hit refresh. And boom, you see now how this has changed. Let me just maximize this. So now this is a square. So you can go ahead and you can actually play around with this with more examples here visiting W3 schools. And you can even go ahead and take a look and see what other values you can add other than Roman numbers and squares and circles. There are plenty of them. So just make sure to get into W3 schools and read a little bit more about that. Okay, so moving on, let's go ahead and let's take a look at the next property. The next property is called list style image. And this property is going to specify an image as a list item marker. Okay, so instead of me setting up a romance to my code or a circle or a square, let's say that I want to use a specific image. Well, I can certainly do that. But in order to do that, let's go ahead and let's take a look at the example here at W3 schools. So here they use this image right here. This is pink square, as you can see. And the only thing they use is the list style image property. Then they use a URL to specify where that image is located. So let's do that. We're going to change the style for an unordered list. And what we are going to do this time is that we are going to call an image, okay? So to do that here, we're going to use the list style image. So list style image. And by the way, we're going to close, we're going to erase the type because I don't want that here, okay? And now that we're using the list style image, we want to specify the URL. But before I show you how to add that URL in here, I want to show you where do I have the image located. I have here a folder named image, and I already downloaded an image which is a circle here. This is the circle that I am going to be using, okay? Just so you know, I already had downloaded the image into my images folder here under the CSS course folder that we have created. So that's where I am going to take a look at my URL link. So we're going to use URL, and then we're going to use parentheses, and then we're going to use images, and then I am going to say that I want to use the image name circle.png, okay? And of course, we're going to close this. And now, as you can see, that's all we have to do to add this image. So I'm going to hit save. We're going to go back to our website, and now I'm going to hit refresh. Now with the unordered list, now it's going to change. It's not going to be the square, but rather it's going to be the image that I just showed you I was going to use. So let's hit refresh. And boom, you see, it's a huge image, but you can customize the image as you want. I already have explained before how to add a width and height to images, so I'm pretty sure that you can do that by your own. But if you have questions in how to do that, you can leave them in the comment section below, and I am going to reply as soon as you can, as you already know. So that's another thing that you can do with the image style property. Now let's go ahead and let's move on. There is another property that we can use here, which is the list style position property, which is going to specify the position of the list item markers, meaning the bullet points, right? So you can go ahead and you can give a position. The position could be outside, which means that the bullet points will be outside of the list item. Okay, and the start of each line of a list item will be aligned vertically as default. So see, here is an example. The position here property is outside. So the little dot is outside, and then inside you will see the entire item, right? So you can also go ahead and set up the value inside with the list style position property, which means that the bullet points will be inside of the list item. So as you can see, this one's in this example, the little circle is inside of the box, meaning that is the position is inside, right? And as you can see, even the paragraph starts under the circle rather than here, everything is right next to it, because here is outside and then here is inside. So I know those two examples are self-explanatory, but let's go ahead and let's play around with this, and I'm going to show you an example just so you can take a look at it right now. But first, let's take a look at the example here at W3 School. If you hit here, try yourself, then you're going to see the code here, and they're using a list style position outside and then a list position inside. So here is an example of outside, and here is an example of inside. So what we are going to do here is that we are going to transform the paragraphs. Probably, you know what? Let's just create something here for the order list items that I have, and I'm going to copy the unordered lists items in here. And what I am going to do right now with this is I'm going to have to give a class to this. And the class is going to be example number 1. So we're going to call it EN1. That's going to be my class for this unordered list to show you the example. And then I'm going to create another unordered list. Okay, and I'm going to call this example number 2. Okay, and now here, what I am going to use is maybe some lorem ipsum type of information. In fact, you know what? Let's just go ahead and copy that. And I am going to paste that a couple of times there. Okay, 3 times is enough. Probably going to arrange this a little bit better so you can see it indented. Okay, there we go. So now I am going to copy these 3 things right here. And I am going to paste them here. Let's see if everything worked. No, it didn't work as I wanted to. So, okay, let's copy this and let's paste all this information there. So there we go. So now I'm going to save this information. We're going to go back to our code and I'm going to hit refresh. Now, as you can see, I have the paragraphs, and right now all the unordered lists are being shown with this big circle because I haven't done anything to the classes yet. So we're going to do that right now. And in fact, I don't need this anymore, the images that we added, so I'm just going to delete that just so you can see this. I'm going to hit save, and now we're going to hit refresh, and they do not have that anymore. Okay, so by default, the property is set to outside, as you can see. Now, what I am going to do is that I am going to call the unordered list, okay? And taking a look at the example, I'm going to call the unordered list with the property as example number 1. And in here, what I want to do is use the list style position, and we're going to use the list style position. Let's use the list style position inside first, so you can see this. Okay, so let's copy this and paste it. Let's hit save, and now we're going to hit refresh. Okay, so see how that changed? Now the next paragraph starts below the little circle, right? Now, if I go ahead and set this up as outside, it's going to remain the same because obviously by default, this is already outside. But let me go ahead and just show you. So let's call the unordered list with the class of example number 2. And we are going to say that the position will be outside. Okay, so now I'm going to hit save and I'm going to hit refresh. And as I said, it's not doing anything because this by default is already outside. So there you have two values, two different values. This is inside and this is outside. I hope that makes sense. Again, if it doesn't make any sense, just leave your questions in the comment section below, okay? Moving on with this, because that's pretty much what we do with this. Let's go back here and we can also go ahead and use the list style type property, and we can set this to none. So the property can also be used to remove the marker bullets, and the list by default has a margin and a padding, so we simply add margin and padding 0 if we want to remove all the default style that it has. So let's do that with the example number 2. What we're going to do is say list style type to none. Okay, so let's do that. List style type, and then we're going to set this to none. Okay, we're going to hit save, and we're going to set, we can add the margin 0 and padding 0 for this. So let's do that, margin, and we're going to say 0, and then padding is going to be also set to 0. Okay, so I'm going to hit save, and now we're going to go back to our code, and the paragraph, remember, we're changing is number 2, so this one right here is going to lose all the default style that has. Okay, so I'm going to hit save, and now we're going to hit refresh, and boom, you see how now it doesn't even have a marker. It doesn't have not even a circle. It doesn't have any padding. It doesn't have any margin. Everything has been removed. So you can use that whenever you don't want certain items to have any type of style, just so you know. Okay, so next thing and last thing I'm going to show you today is how to use the shorthand property. Okay, so the shorthand property will be list style, as I said at the beginning of this tutorial. You can set the list style property in order for you to make a shorthand code for this if you do not want to type them one by one. So here, when you are going to use a shorthand property, so the first thing you're going to use is the list style type. Then you're going to use list style position and then list style image, as you know. So we're going to add one more example here, or let's just work with example number 2 still. And I am going to make sure that I use the list style property. And we're going to use these same example that we see here. I'm simply going to copy this and I'm going to change the URL for this. Okay, so first thing, use list style. Then as you see, you say this is going to be square. What is square is a list type, right? Then the position, which is inside. As you see, we're using inside. And then if you want to add an image, that's going to be the third thing you're going to write down in your shorthand code. So here we have an image. I'm going to change this image, and I'm going to make sure that we access to our images folder, and let's select the circle one. Okay, the circle image. I'm going to hit save, and now all this is going to change for the last paragraph. If we hit refresh, boom, you see how now this is changing? Now we have this inside style, and we have an image added here. And of course, as you can see, you cannot see the square, obviously, because I changed that for an image. If I go ahead and I change the URL, then you should see square there. I'm going to hit save and then refresh. And well, the items right now are shown as square, as you can see here. Let me just maximize that. There you go. So see, the last 3 paragraphs are in a square. Okay, so that's it for the shorthand property. Now, let me talk about a little bit in how you can list and how you can style your list with colors. Styling with colors is super simple. I mean, all you have to do is use a background color and then some padding to it so that you can go ahead and you can create some really good examples here. So let's just go ahead and use the order list, okay? And we're going to use a background color for this of black. You know what? This is not going to look good. So let's just do blue. Probably it's going to look ugly, guys, here, but I'm not trying to be super, I don't know, like an excellent designer right now. I'm just trying to show you an example. Okay, so the background color is going to be blue, and I'm going to give a padding as well of the same padding here as the example of 20 pixels. Okay, that's going to be to my order list. So I'm going to hit save. Now we're going to go back to our page. I'm going to remove this. And then here, this thing right here should change now. Okay, so now let's hit refresh. And boom, you see now how this is blue? All the background is blue. Okay, now here is some type of result if you use different type of format here for your order lists and for your unordered list. As you can see here, we just give the style to the order list overall. So what I did here is just give let's say the color to my entire order list background. However, if I want to add to each individual item a different type of background, I can do that. You know what? Let's go ahead and apply just this same style that we have here. Okay, I'm going to just paste this here. And as you can see, this is for our order list items. So the order list background color, which is blue right now, is being applied to the entire order list. Now to each item with the tag LI, you're going to see some background of white applied to it with a 5 pixel of padding and a 35 pixel of margin to the left. Okay, so I'm going to hit save here. Going back to our code, we're going to hit refresh. And boom, you see how now this has changed entirely? Now we have here the default position, which is outside. You can even change that to inside, whatever you want this to be. And then obviously the colors are changing, and now you have everything properly styled. You can go ahead and play around a little bit more with this. You have here some beautiful examples at W3 Schools. You can try it yourself, and you can take a look at the code in here and actually see what they did. So that's about it when it comes to lists. I hope that this chapter has been very useful for you and that you have learned a lot today. Remember, practice a lot. Practice is the key if you want to become a great developer. Okay, everyone, so that's it for today. If you have enjoyed this video, make sure to give me a thumbs up. As well, if you're new to my channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And remember that you can always ask Lixi. Bye, everyone, and see you again in the next episode.